Seoul crushing it so far.
We're going to see one last attack here from Seoul.
Real momentum starting to get built up here for the Los Angeles Gladiators. Mad kills, fam. Mad kills. Bishu.
Fleta! Oh, there it is.
He's got the hot hand.
Whoa! What?
And the Boston Uprising show off their dominance over the Florida Mayhem as they will win that match 4-0. That means they finished the week 1-1. So shouts out to Boston Uprising for bringing it back together. Up next, we have the Seoul Dynasty going up against the LA Gladiators. Now, the Seoul Dynasty, they've been looking very good in this post-Mercy meta, doing their thing, and they're going to be looking to go 4-0 at the end of the night. As for the LA Gladiators, they've been looking very good as well, and the addition of Fisher has been making them all the more formidable. So these guys are going to be scrapping. I hope you guys are ready. Are y'all ready? Y'all ready? Oh, they're loving it. All right. Well, with that, let's go ahead and get to the match and send it over to Puckett at the desk.
Thank you so much, Malik. Shout out to everyone who brought a sign today. Raise them up. How many we got out there in the crowd? So many of you coming here, bringing the cheers. Fleta, fan favorite here in the venue. Also, we're going to see what's going to be on the table for their opponent, the Gladiators. So many people to field. Fissure going to be a big one. Let's talk here at the desk. We got Bren, we got Crumbs, we've got Zoe once again. And this is the match that we talked about it during our story meeting. This is one we're all fired up about.
Yeah, the fact that the Gladiators now have Fissure on the lineup, maybe he knows the secrets to take down these top teams. We might get to see him even dive the backline, take out Toby and Jaehong, take Seoul from the head. The Hydra, really.
You sound excited.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
sound pumped for this game.
Fissure.
I'm liking what you're taking.
He doesn't care if you're prepared.
Let's roll the schedule here as we take a look at the full day. You just witnessed Boston take down the Mayhem a little bit later. It's the Fuel versus the Valiant, but right now, let's hear for our first LA team. The Gladiators taking on the Dynasty right now. And first up, it's the Los Angeles Gladiators. Short floor leading the charge right behind him, their newest tank, Fissure. He was brought in from the Spitfire, and since then, this squad has turned their game around. They're currently ranked 3 in our Stage 2 leaderboards, and they've got big wins already over the Shock and Dragons.
Yeah, this is all about the evolution, well, however you want to pronounce it, to be honest, of the LA Gladiators, because these guys have completely transformed with the introduction of Fissure. Super excited to see them play the rest of this game, because if Seoul have not done their homework, if they have not prepped for Gladiators, I feel like there's a potential here for them to be rudely awakened, because Gladiators, you cannot mess around with this squad. You've got a fantastic support backline, great DPS in the form of Surefall, Hydration, and Asher, and not to mention as well, this new addition, the Fissure. We go on about Fissure for days, but for good reason. He's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, we talk so much about Fissure, but my personal MVP has to be Bishu. In case you've missed his post-game interview after they won over the Dragons, he peels, he dives, he calls, he stalls, he bumps, he wrecks, he shields, and all of that he does whilst translating everything for Fissure, whose English is just not quite good enough to communicate with the team. And honestly, I don't even know how he does it.
And he does it all with a smile on his face. Keep your eyes on the diva. That's Bishu for the Gladiators on the other side of the stage. It's time to find out who is the Dynasty starting today. Give it up for the Seoul Dynasty. After a rough finish to Stage 1, a fantastic start here in Stage 2. Already, this squad sitting at 3-0 with wins over the Valiant. They beat the Shock, and they took down the Fuel in the rematch 3-1.
Yeah, and I'm super happy to see that Seoul Dynasty are back on track now, back where they rightfully belong, despite popular belief that I actually do hate Seoul. That's not the case at all. I actually love this team.
It's
I
just
want them to
Jaehong.
succeed. All right, don't go there, buddy. Don't go there, mate. I can't be taking this heat from Twitter. Nah, but this team is so sick in general. I'm so happy to see that they're back in a meta that they're comfortable with, and it's all really off the back of Jaehong. I mean, you mentioned him, Puckett, rightly so. This guy is back on roles he's comfortable with. He's not on the Mercy anymore, and he's ready to make those high-velocity plays.
And the team just looks way more relaxed. They're not overthinking things. All right, we're just feeling the guys that are working right now. We're not trying to shake up the formula too much. You know that Toby and Jaehong is the sickest duo support for this squad. They're just sticking with it. They're running with it when it goes. And when Munchkin gets to pop up in his DPS, you got to get your hand warmers ready. It's those hands, man. It's the best way to warm them up.
When Bunny was sick, we were worried about Munchkin, but he was going nuts in the last matchup. Excited to see him once again. Now, so we're looking at this squad. We talk about Toby, we talk about Jae-Hong. How are the supports feeling coming into the matches today?
Very confident, actually. When I spoke to Toby the other day, he said that they know exactly what Fischer will do. They will dive into the deep backlines of their own team, and they're prepared. He, Fleta, and Ryu Jae-Hong are ready to shut this down and punish the aggression we're going to see from the Gladiators.
Now, we mentioned already that the Gladiators are retooled. They brought in Fischer. They have a new main tank. And in Overwatch, your main tank is really the guy that the whole team has to revolve around. So let's talk about the rematch here, because these two teams met up week 1, stage 1. It was 4-0. It was all Seoul Dynasty. How much better are the Gladiators entering this matchup today?
Oh, it's worlds apart, really. The fact that now you have a guy that is very aggressive and forcing the rest of the team to follow up means that the team now has a more direction. A lot of the times the Los Angeles Gladiators looked a little bit lost, shaken, but if you have a guy that is always going to be on top of the game plan that you have to follow, it means that there's a lot less pressure on everybody else to know what they have to be doing.
In general, yes, Gladiators, they are worlds apart. I'm not going to discredit you there, Crumbs. But I will say you can't underestimate Seoul here as well. This is a former top team across multiple championships. This squad has so much talent packed to the brim. And the most unique aspect of this team, in my opinion, is the fact that they can adapt on the fly. And not a lot of teams can do this. So set strategies don't really work as well against them because they're so good at reading the game and how it plays out.
You could argue that this is the toughest challenger that the Gladiators have faced so far in Stage 2. How do they feel coming in?
You know, since Branch has mentioned this whole set strategies won't work, but that's kind of exactly the approach Gladiators are actually going to take. So I am not quite sure how they will feel about it. They told me, or rather their coach DP told me, that usually they look at the map. Then they look at what strategies work for this map. Then they're looking at what comps can play those strategies, and at the very end, they actually decide what players to field. So that very much seems like planned out to me and not very adaptable. Not sure how that will go for
They're coming in with a structure, though, and
Very
that's good
structured,
news because
yes.
they're going to need it against the Dynasty so far. So let's talk about our official predictions, starting with you, Bren. Are you going with the Dynasty and Jae-Hong?
I'm going to be going with black and gold for this one. I think Seoul Dynasty all the way. That's my personal prediction. That's what I think is going to be happening. I'd rather get some points back after the first map at least. And I doubt I'm going to be flipping and flopping here, but it's still going to be a great game to watch.
We'll give you a chance at halftime. What about you, Crumbs?
Listen, I might be projecting here, but I get the feeling that the Gladiators' preparation, it came through. It didn't go all the way in Stage 1, but I think in Stage 2 here with Fischer in the lineup, it gives me some hope for the Gladiators. I think that Seoul has looked a little bit shaky. I think that they're going to be able to...
They've beaten the Shock. They've beaten the Dragons. He says they beat the Dynasty today. Let's close it out with you here, Sully.
You know, the thing is, yeah, Fischer is a super high caliber player. But if you're looking at Seoul Dynasty, but they basically have 6 Fishers. So I have to
I don't know what Overwatch you're watching, Zoe. I mean,
it's great.
There's not
It's
6
great
Winston
Overwatch.
to my game.
So many monkeys to play with.
There are apes.
All right, let's hear it from the crowd. How many people want to see Seoul walk away with the win today? How many folks out here in Los Angeles want to see the Gladiators pull off the W? It's time to kick this party off right now as we set it backstage. We got Monty and Doa.
Puckett, sounds like a pretty divided crowd out there, man. LA Gladiators versus Seoul Dynasty. Can't deny Seoul coming into this one looking very, very strong. Had a little bit of a rough go of it at the end of Stage 1, but man, Stage 2 has been incredible for these guys. They look very comfortable in the meta. That said, Gladiators looking good with Fischer, of course, coming in. Great individual plays from that guy, but I agree with 2/3 of the desk there that I think that Fischer's individual strength and some of the other coordination issues that the LA Gladiators are having right now aren't gonna maybe be enough to take Seoul, but who knows? Anything can happen.
I'm just enjoying Crumbs predicts upsets day, which I guess is
Yes.
the track we're going on.
March 2nd, mark it on your calendar, guys. Yeah. All right.
We'll see if he has more success in this match than he did in our first match.
You know, it's even more surprising that he would pick that, given the first map is Hanamura, and we saw Seoul finish their first attack run against Dallas with something like, what, 6, I think it was almost 6 minutes and 50 seconds on the clock there.
That's right, Doe.
Yeah.
They completed their first attack against Dallas on this map in 1 minute and 23 seconds.
I was only 3 off.
Which is no, you were 13 off, but that's fine.
Well, that's I was not major guy. Yeah. Either way, it was a very fast completion time for Seoul, and here we are again. So if you're LA Gladiators, man, I think you would have been studying that VOD pretty intensely if you want to avoid the same thing happening to you.
Yeah, they also adapted very well on their own defense. So their first defense wasn't very successful, but by the time they hit their second one, really had a good read on what the Fuel were doing. Los Angeles Gladiators, though, even though they played Volskaya in their last map, the Assault mode was their most successful against the Shanghai Dragons. They got 34 eliminations and only died twice on Volskaya, so different map, but same style of game mode. Gladiators looking dominant.
Yeah. Yeah, and you can't deny they really did. And Toby paving the way for some boops to be delivered. The boop god later in this match here. Getting rid of the railings, making sure you can toss people off there quite easily.
That's right, and you can see right there, 69% win rate, the highest in the league for Seoul on Assault maps. And I think that really says a lot about Seoul as a team. They were, even when they were struggling at certain points during the first stage, Assault was always their bread and butter, and Assault gives them more time. What are they great at? At adapting their tactics. It gives them the most time to try and refocus on their defense, because you have an Assault, obviously an attack. If it's repelled, then you get some time to readjust your tactics on attack and defense, and then run the next play. So with those downtime being a big part of Assault, that's when we see Seoul really adapt efficiently, and that's why they're so scary on this kind of mode.
That's right. And as far as how they look in Stage 2 in general, in this meta, they kind of have started to become the Seoul dynasty that we kind of predicted them to be at the beginning of Overwatch League, which is to say Lunatic High with better DPS, right? A very tank and support focused team that were able to be very adaptive in their matches and make this dive style work back in Korea. Trying to bring that to Overwatch League now. They ran into the Mercy meta. Things didn't go too well, but now they're back in form, I think, where they still have that strong tank and support core, and they've got these great DPS players to add into it, and I think they're really in their element here in this meta.
Yeah, and Seoul was suffering from some underperformance from some of their players. Munchkin has really stepped up in this second stage. So is Miro, looking much more like the Miro we know rather than the Miro that we saw in Stage 1, which was pretty out of form and uncharacteristic in terms of his play. So it's been both the meta and I think some players stepping up that has seen Seoul really rise through the ranks here in Stage 2 in this early part of Stage 2.
Yeah, Miro is kind of like that superhero where like 2/3 through the movie decides he just can't be a hero anymore, and so he's kind of like on the streets just kind of walking along with his head down. He sees like a cat stuck in a tree. He's like, no, I can't get up there, not anymore. And then some inspiring thing happens and he becomes that hero again. Well, that's Miro right now, guys. The hero is back, and just when Seoul Dynasty needed him most. We will see if that continues.
We'll see if there's no kryptonite later on.
You never know.
You never know when the kryptonite
comes. The kryptonite is out there somewhere for sure. Let's see if LA Gladiators have it in their pockets today as they get started here on Hanamura. The attack has begun. Hydration on the Genji this time around. Going for some pretty classic dive.
Yeah, LA Gladiators have preferred running dive on Hanamura. We've seen them play it a couple of times before today.
Yep, that's right. Ishu just trying to make his way through the door, getting down to about half health already. He's going to crazy fly into the air, trying to stay in his mech. Fissure, though, going down first. Jaehong actually picks up that one. Bishu does end up getting demeched, and already Hydration having to fall back. So both tanks out of commission early for the Gladiators, and they were able to get the fast members of the team in there, but it seems like the tanks got kind of stymied by the door there.
And we saw the last time Seoul played on this against the Fuel, they did play the dive defense also, but they made some mistakes in terms of diving too early and allowing Dallas to back off. This time, though, they're waiting for the engagement and then heading
Well, Toby down, but Fleta gets a bit of a support revenge as well, taking out one of the Gladiators, and whoa, he's not done yet. The kill feed lighting up gold, and Seoul gonna push back the Gladiators one more time. And going back to what you were talking about, Seoul's last match on this one of, I think, their kryptonite moments was on the defense, where they tended to chase after kills a little bit too much, try to go for those staggers a little bit too aggressively, and they did get punished for that from time to time. But so far, things have been very tight today.
Yeah, they've been waiting for everybody to come up, so Gladiators are going to get through the choke point uncontested because Seoul was waiting on respawns.
Yeah, oh, Shaz in a little bit of trouble here. Nearly finished off. Munchkin gets him, then recalls for a bit more health. Fleta coming in with that Dragon Blade, and once again, the Gladiators pushed back. Now, crucially, despite that being a big fight for Seoul, Gladiators coming up on a lot of ults, aren't they?
They are coming up on quite a few, but Seoul really has been efficient. They only had to use 2, the Trance and the Dragon Blade, to get the team kill there. So See if Gladiators is going to commit to getting both of their support ults up a little bit faster.
Oh, hydration. Already down, man. Gladiators in a little bit of trouble. There comes a pulse bomb. No kills onto that one. Think he got eaten. Munchkin falling back as Fissure goes ahead and pops that Primal Rage. Gladiators gonna try to come in on this one anyway. Fleta fighting for his life, draws a Transcendence out of Shaz. And that's gonna be the cue for the Gladiators to try to go in. They're gonna dedicate the sound barrier to this one as well. Both support ultimates used, and now they gotta get some kills out of that. Jaehong does go down, but Shaz follows soon after. Fleta manages to make it to that health pack, and now Fissure in a lot of trouble here. Self-destruct for Bishu. He's gonna remech, but doesn't have a ton of teammates left around as Surefour is dropping. Fleta push back here. Can he survive? Ooh, man! No. Can't quite do it. Hydration coming back. He's got the Dragon Blade. Trying to turn this fight around, and it looks like they may have been able to grind it out.
Yeah, only 3 members from Seoul, Toby, Zunba, and Munchkin left alive on the point now, and respawns are coming in for the Gladiators.
Now, will Seoul try to fight this? It doesn't look like they're gonna put too much effort into it. Zunba just kind of hanging out near the edge of the point. Toby coming in now. They're just trying to delay, sending people in more or less one by one, but I think now is the point where you give it up. Now you gotta get set up for point B. Point A taken by the Gladiators.
Yeah, you'll notice Seoul wasn't committing anything besides one member at a time, like you said, Noah, onto that point. They were not actually trying to contest it there, just draw out as many seconds as they could, and they're holding onto their ultimates. LA Gladiators had to use everything to get onto the point, and so they're not going to have a whole lot to work with right here.
Oh, Fleta with the Dragon Blade on the side of the fight now. Finds Shaz, finds a couple in fact, and despite the kills from Hydration, it looks like Seoul's going to send Gladiators packing for now, and that's going to give Seoul a little bit of breathing room to kind of set up the defense.
Yeah, Big Goose also going to be playing the Ana on the attack here. Hydration moving to the Road Dog, and Surefour will be on the Soldier 76. So they're going to try and play for the high ground, start fishing with these hooks onto the point, and see if they can make anything work here. Using a triple tank composition.
I like it. Yeah.
Big Goose will be trying to play up on the high ground as well, make sure that he can get the long-range healing needed onto the point. And the tanks are down there.
Hydration sneaking his way up the stairs now. Looking for a hook, tries to pull. Zunba right out. Sound barrier comes in for Seoul. Zunba lives to fight another day. Now they've got the Transcendence out on the Gladiator side. Self-destruct comes in for the Devon Soul. Bishu, meanwhile, DMAC. There goes Miro. Hydration making his presence felt already. They're going to charge up the stairs here. And Seoul push back. Transcendence comes in as Jaehong tries to get to his DPS to try to get some momentum going. But he's just going to find himself behind enemy lines here. And I think the Gladiators may have an opportunity to get something going on the point.
Yeah, they gotta get down there, though.
Oh, that was a nice hook from Hydration. Whoa, but yeah, you gotta get on the point. You gotta get the control percent building here. They've got the kills, but they need to move on there at some point.
Surefour has a tactical visor. He wants to get onto this high ground, but Miro is zoning him out. Hydration dead means it will be a reset from the Gladiators. So in spite of some nice kills, what did work very well for the Gladiators was forcing a ton of ultimates out of Seoul.
Very true.
They're going to be feeling great about that because they're going to be coming back with a tactical visor, no support ults for Seoul, to try and block that one out. So Surefour has a big opening right now to do some serious damage.
Yeah, he's going to try to post up on that high ground. You see him looking there. If he can get that tac visor off unopposed, it's a lot of damage that 76 can do. Tries to find Munchkin in the back lines, forces a recall, gets over to the health pack as the dive comes in. Zunba already DMAC, and Surefour's going to use the tac visor a little bit early, just trying to keep this push going. Now he's on the high ground. Fleta to contest with there, doesn't quite finish him off. Zunba, meanwhile, can't get back in his mech. He is down. Surefour fighting for his life here on the high ground. Gladiators had somebody on the point for the moment. Now they've got the position they want. Miro in a little bit of trouble. The respawn's going to be coming in for Seoul. Sound barrier dedicated again. Or no sound barrier, my bad. For Gladiators. They're just going to hang out with that biotic field instead. Nice sleep dart. Wow, yeah. Oh, and a nicer snipe from Fleta. That's a permanent sleep dart coming in from him. And the Gladiators again push back.
And Fleta used the Dragon Blade, realizes that they're going to be on the open in the high ground, swaps to the Widowmaker, shoots Surefour from spawn, and then immediately back onto the Genji. So great situational awareness, trying to clean up the members that were left over from that push from the Gladiators. And Soul also forced that attack visor early, had hardly any value because they jumped on them outside of the dojo and forced them to use it early before they could even get into position.
Here we go, Munchkin coming in from behind. He's got the pulse bomb. That was a stick. That's 2 kills. Both supports taken out by Munchkin. And despite going down himself, that's all he needed to do. Mission complete. And Soul will defend again, less than 1 minute remaining for LA.
Yeah, Surefour harried on his way back towards this spawn, not going to die, not going to get staggered. He's coming up on another tactical visor now, but Soul, with only 40 seconds left, is going to be feeling very good about their ult economy shortly.
Now, this is that last push coming in, right? I mean, this is where you see teams dig deep and make it work despite going into OT. See if Gladiators can do just that.
Keep your eyes open for a nano-boosted Dragon Blade from Fleta.
That's the plan. Meanwhile, Nano Boost on the side of the Gladiators as well. They've got the option to use that maybe on Fissure. Probably on Surefour with that tack visor. We will see Hydration separated from the team. Oh, they cut him off. They cut him down. And that's a short manned attack coming in for Gladiators now. Here comes a Dragon Blade. Meanwhile, Fleta trying to cut through that Transcendence, keeping them bottled up. Nobody gets to the point. What a great zoning defense from Soul. Start to finish there on point B. They will not even allow a tick from the Gladiators.
And the Gladiators were bottled up in that hallway with a nano-boosted Winston on one side and a Genji pulled with a Dragon Blade on the other.
Yeah.
So very hard for them to get out of that situation. Have to use the Transcendence and can't get onto the point in time. So Soul will hold the Gladiators to 1 point and no ticks on point B.
That was a really impressive defense. Not just in that they held it, but in that they held them to nothing, right? They didn't even get a tick on point B. And the way they did that, despite losing sometimes 3 people in a fight, they just had enough people to keep the Gladiators contained that they pulled it off. I'm very surprised that the Gladiators actually didn't get anything on point B out of that one.
Well, it's impressive how Soul always knows what the ultimates of the Gladiators or their opponents are, and they play around that. So they're playing aggressively outside of the dojo on point B when they know they're at a disadvantage, hoping that the Gladiators are going to use some of their tools a little bit early. And then Gladiators missed their best timing window because they had a bit of a panic when they saw Soul coming outside. But what that did was they just melted away once the tactical visor gets popped. And
well, that's the thing is I mean, you do not want to use that tack visor on 76 unless you're on that high ground in the back of the point. And we saw them force that out of them before they got there multiple times. And it's really hard to make an attack work on point B if you're using the soldier in that situation.
Yeah, you can see right there, Hydration, 80% hook rate, but not enough to get a tick there on point B. It will be a dive defense from the Gladiators right now. Now, Soul has preferred to run Widowmaker Tracer on most of their offenses. Not sure if they're actually going to go with it this time. They are going to...
We will see.
Miro is staying on Hanzo?
I would be surprised. Yeah, I was going to say, I think that was just a Sonic Arrow to make sure there was some sort of cheesy defense coming in.
Yeah, it's just a little bit late. Usually you see that swap faster, but...
He walked up a little bit farther, tried to get it towards the actual choke, I think.
Yeah.
Have to go back and rewatch that one. Meanwhile, dueling Tracers, Munchkin thinks the better of it. He's going to have to recall first. Trying to get in that position for the health pack. Meanwhile, his team trying to pull Gladiators away from the point a little bit here. Coming in on the right side. Coming into the high ground now. This is a very long attack for Soul.
You can see Munchkin, he's still poking around the side before trying to occupy him. Munchkin, he used most of his blinks now, has to rewind. He's in a bad position.
No kidding. I mean, it's been Operation Hunt Down Munchkin here, and it nearly succeeded. Rejoins his team for a bit of healing here. Has to wait out that cooldown on the recall.
This is a very slow, long flank for the high ground, but they have the soldiers, so they're going to have a poke advantage once they get the sight line into the point. So methodical positioning from Soul. Gladiators have slowed them down quite a bit.
Wow, Sunbear comes in from Toby. He built out really, really fast. Bijou D-Max here, and now Hydration coming in with the Dragon Blade, trying to turn away this push, and Fissure's going to help him do just that. And that's a lot of time eaten off the clock for Seoul. They did not get anything out of that extended push.
No, they didn't, Doa, because they were poking that entire time. Look at the support ultimates. They're well ahead because the amount of healing from the Gladiators has been so much greater. You need to be able to finish off those kills. But what the Gladiators knew was if the Soldier was poking, they needed Munchkin on the Tracer to finish the kills. Surefour kept Munchkin occupied that entire time, so there was no follow-up damage.
Yeah. Soul trying to go from the left this time around, it looks like. Switching up their attack. That's a really early Transcendence coming out from Chaz. They're going to go in and attack with it. Soul trying to, oh, now Sound Barrier used by the Gladiators as well. They're dedicating both support ultimates to this fight. Jaehoong, oh, he couldn't get to the health pack. He was so close. And Fissure coming back in. The victorious 8-man pushing away people. He's got Zimba cornered on that Diva, losing a little bit of health here. I do not know, man. Down to 58 health. Can he get away? Needs some health packs really bad. Meanwhile, Miro coming out ahead on that Winston battle. Goodbye, Surefour. And somehow, some way, Seoul looks like they're going to claim this point.
Well, Doa, now we know the answer to the question, what does it look like when two angry monkeys are in a tiny pagoda together?
I know. I grew up wondering that, two raging apes in a tiny pagoda. What would that look like? Now we know. Thank you. It's a lot of, it gives you pause, really, when you think about it. And that's totally fun. All right, Seoul Dynasty coming in on point B here. They've only got the Sound Barrier at the moment. Might have to go for a couple economy pushes, just trying to build up those ults as they poke it through this hallway. Gonna try to use maybe a bit of that momentum, but there's not a lot to work with when you don't have ultimates coming into this.
Yeah, Big Goose did get the sleep onto Fleta, so delaying their push by a few seconds right now. Fleta's up on the high ground. Fissure wants to contest.
That's right. Hydration in a little bit of trouble here. Fleta firing away, trying to finish Genji off. Miro comes in to try to do it. Bishu on the high ground, man. He went in there with a third health. That was dangerous. Self-destruct time. Zimba takes out Bishu. No remeching for him. Miro down from Fissure. So Seoul losing one of their tanks here.
And are they going to go for this? Fissure with a pulse bomb. He's going to fall as Fleta finishes the kill.
They only need one tick there. Shaz has to use that Transcendence to stay alive. Now the Gladiators diving onto the point, and here comes the Sound Barrier for Seoul as they had to try to survive the Dragon Blade from Hydration. Remember, Seoul just needs that one tick.
And boosted Bishu is going to be pushing Toby off. So Gladiators are going to hold this, but they had to use absolutely everything to do so.
Oh, I don't know, man. Miro and Munchkin still fighting it out. They're not going to give up just yet. Bishu very low health. Finally, Miro needs to exit this one. Yeah, he has to get out of there.
They are going to hold. The price was high. Surefour will have a pulse bomb. But look at Jaehoong right now, 95% of the way to his Transcendence. That could be the ticket for the Dynasty.
Interesting. Well, now they have the Transcendence, yeah, like you said. And again, all they need is that first 1/3 of the control meter to win this map. Hydration down.
Shaz, big pick onto Fleta.
Yeah, that's huge, man. Oh, Jaehoong survives the pulse bomb, but barely. Meanwhile, they're gonna wait out. Looks like they're gonna wait, okay.
That was a crucial kill from Shaz. If he hadn't gotten Fleta, he wasn't going to be able to get his Transcendence to match Jaehoong's. Now he's in a much improved position when it comes to his ult charge. Should be able to get it relatively quickly after a fight starts if he isn't picked off. So that buys the Gladiators quite a bit of time.
Yep. Soul coming in again. They're on the high ground. One more time. They push Fissure back a little bit. Hydration still poking from the opposite side along with his Tracer. Meanwhile, Transcendence used coming in for both sides. Both Zenyatta's popping those ultimates. The low ground, though, doesn't belong to Seoul just yet. Trying to get it flattened down. Shaz gets him after the ult ends. Meanwhile, Hydration, he's got the Dragon Blade. He can use it. Oh, Jaehoong in trouble. Doesn't even need it. And Seoul, once again, returning to spawn empty-handed. 2 minutes remaining. If the Gladiators can force a tie here, that would be insane.
It would be, Doa, but because they're running the Ana, they have the nano boost, but that puts the onus on Hydration or Fissure to make the most of it. And they're going to have to fight through that sound barrier. Shaz is clutching this out, though. A couple of big kills on Fleta have really changed this defense for Los Angeles.
Well, we've certainly seen that happen in the past. Shaz getting the big picks with that Zenyatta. And here we we go again. Hydration coming in. Nano boost onto Fissure this time. He's going to try to go into the back line, and they are going to just dismantle Seoul Dynasty. That push way over before it began.
And Chaz nearly up to another Transcendence, so this is looking great from the Gladiators. They've been getting the picks they need and punishing Fleta time and time again. He remains on this Soldier 76.
You can kind of see what Soul's plan is, though. It looks like they just want to go for one big 6 ultimate fight, try to just grind it out. All they need is that first tick. They've nearly got all 6 ultimates right now, and once they do, that's going to be the plan. Surefour coming around the back. We saw Munch get a good one. Oh, that pulse bomb! Not getting much at all for the Gladiators. Meanwhile, Soul gonna dive onto the point here. They've got Fled on the high ground. Sound barrier in there now as they have the Gladiators push back just a bit. Fissure zoned off. Fissure down, as is Shaz. This could be Soul's moment right here. Self-destruct for Bishu. They finish him before he can read back in Hydration. The last man standing, Dragon Blade coming in. Can he get the kills? No, there's a Transcendence from Jayhawk. That's exactly what they need. And Hydration down. Gladiators dehydrated. And that is going to be the map for Seoul. They finally waited, they got the ultimates they needed, and they took the map.
And that's the advantage that you have not running Ana. Ana is a very strong hero, but when it comes to matching the power of another support's ultimate, it just isn't there. You have to be able to make the plays, the biotic grenades, or the sleep darts. That's
right.
what makes Ana great. And so when you come to these do or die situations with 6 ults, sometimes it can be hard enough just to extend the fight unless you hit that like wonderful sleep dart.
I mean, you usually can't rely on 6 ultimates to carry you through, but when you're in that situation where you only need the 1 tick, you can do it. Seoul shows us that. They are up a game. We'll be back with map number 2 right after this.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile, America's best unlimited network. Omened by HP, the official PC and display of the Overwatch League. And by Intel, the official computer processor of the Overwatch League.
brought it back, but can they finish it off? Zumba coming from on high.
In week 4 of stage 1, Seoul dropped the first game to Houston and won the second. The Dynasty looked to build momentum against the Outlaws to take a commanding lead in the match.
Scary orbs coming this way. Oh, and finally!
Toby's Valkyrie helped Seoul stay alive with an aggressive offense from Houston, pushing the map into OT.
Outlaws have done it, but Seoul Dynasty will flip the point. 99-99.
With Fleta picking off Outlaws from the back line, it was Zumba who acted as the enforcer by steering the Outlaws off the point and forcing out a Transcendence. As Houston attempted to retake the point, Zumba's self-destruct came in to finish off the remaining members of the Outlaws.
There's the self-destruct, and he's going to get Jake and the D-Mac onto Cool Man. Seoul Dynasty trying to put this one away.
Seoul took the round, won the map, and defeated Houston in OT to make this match an instant classic. That right there was the turning point where Zumba and the Seoul Dynasty turned a sour moment into something sweet. Presented by Sour Patch Kids Candy.
How about that, man? Zumba on the diva. You know, he's done well, but I still miss the Zumba Zarya. I want to see a lot more of that in this meta. This is the time.
Well, yeah, but it's not the map pool for now, Noah.
No,
today
not
we
at
have
the
no
moment.
King's Row.
No,
I hate to break it to you.
No Lijiang Tower as well. That's a good Zumba Zarya map as well. Instead, we're going to go to Nepal for our next map, our control map.
And we do like to see, or actually the Soul likes to see themselves play Tracer Soldier almost exclusively on this map. So maybe Fleta will pull out a little bit of the Pharah again. We have seen that on Village.
Yeah, Village once in a great while Sanctum, but I think you'd probably see him on the Soldier on that one. But yeah, we'll see. We do have a sub, though. Asher coming in for Surefour instead, swapping it up a bit on the Gladiators side. It was a fairly close map, number one, but you know, again, when you're in that situation, that unfortunate situation the Gladiators were in, where you only have to give up one tick to lose the map, it's easy for teams to just out-ult you, I guess you could say.
Yeah. And as for Asher coming in, when he's going to be a Tracer specialist, who can always run the Tracer on control, basically, so not really going to be an issue, and they prefer to use him when they're not trying to utilize Surefour's more diverse hero pool. So he's Surefour not quite at the level of Tracer as Asher right now, but brings a lot of other heroes. Asher has been the strong Tracer player on this roster, but not necessarily as diverse when it comes to pulling out other picks.
Yeah, true enough. As we get things started, it looks like we're going to be starting on Sanctum. I know it's on the map fly-through right now, but we're actually going to be starting on Sanctum too. I'm not not messing. I'm being honest here. So, as we get things started, we may actually see one of those Pharahs come out right off the bat here. Sanctum, one of those maps where you can play the Pharah. There's a lot of nice open space. You can get a lot of boops off of the edge, a lot of environmental kills, but you are a little bit closer to your opponents than you would normally want to be on Pharah. So that's why we see teams kind of say, you know, yes sometimes, no sometimes to the Pharah on this particular point. It can be good, but it is a little bit riskier than other places.
Well, we have seen the Gladiators use this before. They have run this exact composition with Asher moving over to the Soldier. Talking about him being primarily a Tracer player, but they do run Orisa, Pharah, and Soldier on this point.
That's right.
And they're going to do it again. Both teams are undefeated on Nepal. Both teams 2-0.
Interesting.
Here in stage 2.
Somebody's going to keep that streak alive today, and somebody will take their first loss on the map. Hydration floating his way in there on the Pharah, getting some shots onto Soul as they come towards the point right off the bat. They will be running Fleta on that Soldier 76 over on the Dynasty side, kind of like we expected here.
Yeah, so long flank from Fleta. Munchkin about to go into. Munchkin's going to try and follow up on any damage put down by Fleta. Asher on the flank right now. They've sort of been herded onto the high ground. There's a pincer movement that's going on from Soul. They're trying to attack them from both sides on this high ground.
Well, what they're doing they're keeping the Gladiators from going onto the point. Soul will take it first. Miro does go down, though, so a good start on the ensuing fight from the Gladiators. Oh, but Bishu gets D-Mech'd as well. Fleta biding time. He's a little bit on his own here. They may chase. Yeah, he's got to run. Defense Matrix comes in from Zumba to keep him alive, as does that Orb of Harmony from Jaehong. Now he's going to loop back around. Oh, tries to find the kill in the shadows. That was dangerous, man. He almost walked right into a big right click from that Zenyatta.
But Miro's back, and Gladiators have to back off the point, so they get some time, but not really enough to actually flip it. And now they're getting pushed back into a corner. Okay, Miro's dead again.
Oh, Big Goose. Fleta comes up big himself with a kill on both supports for the Gladiators, and just when they looked like they were going to make a fight out of it, Suddenly, no healing. Asher in a lot of trouble here, getting body blocked a bit by the Orisa. Fleta has to back off to the health pack. Can he get away? Ooh, I don't know. Even with that Orb of Harmony, he can't. Hydration is there. But Soul still keeps getting this percentage going.
I got 50% already, basically, by giving Gladiators the runaround. Now Gladiators finally is able to get on the point long enough, but the Gladiators have a hard time because they have the Orisa responding to the mobility of the Dynasty. They cannot collapse onto a flank as quickly as if they had a Winston, and so Soul is abusing that. They're sort of just like popping out on either side of the Gladiators' death ball.
It was interesting. You don't see teams get outmaneuvered like that too often, but now Soul has to take the point back. That can be a challenge to go through those shields.
I mean, they're abusing the low mobility of this composition with the main tank being Orisa.
Yep.
And they're still trying to pop out onto the point.
Here we go. Transcendence coming. Munchkin just waiting it out. Pulse bomb. Oh, he a little bit too early on that one. Tried to time it towards the end of Transcendence. Didn't get it. I mean, yeah, you can kill people through Transcendence anyway, but you want to follow up on that damage and can't do that. Meanwhile, Soul does flip the point back anyway, so the percentage is going for them. Nice rocket from Fleta to finish Shaz. Ooh, nearly gets finished himself. 7 HP. Gets back to the health pack just in time. Meanwhile, Jaehong uses the Transcendence on the Soul side. But the kills coming in for the Gladiators. Fissure back on the point again. How long can Soul delay this time?
I mean, they're just holding this point as long as they can. Supercharger goes down, so Gladiators are gonna flip it. But so far, though, what's been interesting about this, Soul has 80%. Jaehong's
He's like, this is
chilling.
Nepal. This is my home. Zenyatta's supposed to be here, guys. Don't worry about it.
So we've had 4 kills only for the Dynasty and 10 for the Gladiators, yet they've been behind on control percent this entire point because their lack of mobility is just being abused by the position of Soul.
That's right. And now it gets a little bit tough to break in here, right? Because oh, they found him. Oh, poor Jaehong. All he was trying to do is just live a chilled out, meditative lifestyle. Oh, is that a boot? Oh, close. Meanwhile, Soul trying to come in, but Gladiators stopping them cold for the moment. They are nearing 80% already. Trying to catch up to Soul, and it looks like they may do it right here.
And they're going to start to get the advantage. Soul waiting for a fight. No ultimates available for the Gladiators, and Toby's been sitting on this sound barrier for quite some time.
Yeah. Soul's got to do something. Near 90%. Now they're coming in. Using that Lucio speed boost. Fled it down almost immediately, though. Big pick for hydration, but Shaz falls soon afterwards. Munchkin waiting for it. Here comes the pulse bomb. Gonna get an easy stick on the Fissure. That is not a hard one. Orisa not too fast. Pretty big target for the Tracer. Soul flips the point. They are up to 90% now.
Zumba killed Shaz with a remech.
Hey, you don't see that every day.
Sometimes you just gotta call your mech in from space and get a kill.
You'd think that would do more damage. Bishu with the self-destruct here. Gets taken out before he remexes. Gets Munchkin in the process, though. And here comes Fleta, though, with the attack visor. It's coming in on both sides. Asher using his on the Gladiator side, rather. Oh, dangerous time for Fleta. Has to go back for the health pack. We're into OT. Barrage used by hydration to try to keep Soul bottled up. Soon been a lot of trouble. He gets taken down. And the flip does go back the Gladiators' way. 98, 99%. We're into OT. And the Gladiators may have this one. Soul scrambling to try to keep the point alive. But I don't know if they can quite keep it going. Jaehong parkouring over to the point in the Zenyatta ultimate. But can he pave the way for the respawns to get there? Oh, Munchkin down, and the Gladiators holding strong. Shields up indeed, and they will take the first round here on Nepal.
What a strange map that was.
Really?
From both of these teams. Gladiators finally at the end figured out that there were all these long flanks going on and picked off Fleta, which paved the way to their victory. They adapted in the game and were a little bit more aware of when these Soul members would be isolated by themselves on one of their flanks. But it's so rare we see a map where, in the end, Gladiators had 19 eliminations to Soul's 8, but it was a 99-99 game.
Yeah.
So even though they were absolutely dominant in the kills category, more than 2-1, it took them a while to really grok how the Soul Dynasty were moving on that map and make an adjustment to it so they weren't giving up a lot of control percent for free.
So here we go on to Shrine. Round number 2 on Nepal. Gladiators can win the map with a win here. Soul trying to tie it up. Big Goose over on the Lucio this time, his hero of choice in general. Though he does play a mean Mercy as well, like we saw in that last round.
will be the Soldier Tracer again for Soul.
Yep.
And Gladiators returning to the dive.
Yeah, they like the Genji Tracer on that side. Point is unlocked. The fight begins in earnest. Asher biding his time, trying to just poke her on the backside here. Maybe finding a... Oh, wow. Toby gets a move on the Bijou. Munchkin finishes him off. That was the D-Mech and the kill. There goes Asher. Soul winning this one early on. They did lose Fleta, though. Maybe a chance for Gladiators to come back, but no. Losing Fissure like that. I don't think Shaz can do this one on his own. Doesn't look like it. There goes Hydration, and Soul will get the control percent going first.
And Sunba looks like he has been demeched. He is not going to reset, so waiting for that mech to come back, trying to use the Bunny Blaster to get the last remaining 30%.
Well, you get a couple shots on people coming around the corner, and you do get that mech back very quickly, so...
You can see Asher on the bottom of your screen there.
He'll have it.
He is waiting for a flank right now. Looks like Fissure is going to be joining him. It's going to be 4 members on one side, but that is a great kill. Jaehong takes out Asher, and there's no more attacking for the Gladiators until he respawns. He peeked out into a volley.
You don't do that. You never really take Jaehong for granted, man, or he will get you every time.
So
Certainly one of the most deadly anti-dive supports out there.
Now you can see Soul adapting. Munchkin is now checking that doorway actively to see if Asher is going to be coming around again. He's not going to. Instead, it will be all 6 members on this side of the map.
Yeah, Asher trying to cover behind a little bit low. Gets healed from the Transcendence, though. And Soul jumps in. They're going to wait out this ultimate. There's a stick, and he kills. No! The sound barrier prevented a lot of that damage. And Asher gets Toby with the return Pulse Bomb. Meanwhile, Hydration shades down, taken down by Zunba. Fissure in the back lines. He's got that Primal Rage when he comes back in again. Fleta waiting for it. He's got the Tac Visor, but he doesn't have any HP. Oh, Biotic Field just in time. He had 2 health. Gladiators winning this fight, though, and it looks like Fleta's going to need to reset, and he's going to do that via the Afterlife.
Fleta against the world at the end. He was the last one standing on his team.
Yep.
That's why he opts not to use the Tactical Visor. So, a couple of big ultimates come out on the side of the Gladiators, but they've already done a good job of rebuilding that percent after winning the fight, healing up that damage. Hydration using the Dragon Blade. So they are going to start to get back into this game here on Shrine.
Yep.
But they have to deal with Fleta.
Fissure emoting for a bit better visibility there. Meanwhile, Fleta doing a lot of damage to Fissure. Gotta stay back, gotta stay safe on that Soldier. He's in a lot of trouble. Fissure in there. Oh, the healing onto Fleta is crucial. They can't keep him alive. Miro falls as well. And this fight is pretty much over. Jaehong getting a style kill on his way out, but yeah, you gotta see Soul reset here, and you just cannot lose your 76. He had that Tac Visor up. He was going to be crucial to that fight.
Well, we've seen the Gladiators have a lot of success so far on targeting Fleta on the Soldier 76.
Yeah.
Eliminating him early on Hanamura in a lot of those fights. Same thing here again. And a well-executed dive. Gladiators coming in through both doors to surround the members of the Dynasty and just target select Fleta first.
All right, that was a bold Tac Visor, and Hydration makes him pay for it. 2 kills already. Transcendence for Gladiators to make sure they can fight into this hallway here. Hydration needs to back up now, taken out by Miro. They were very aggressive on this defense, but it looks like it'll pay off. They got enough kills early on to keep Soul bundled up.
And the problem is they're going to fight this next one without Hydration. Munchkin's going to come back, and they're going in. It's a 6v5 in favor of Soul.
Yeah, that's right. They're going to give it a shot. They need to make something happen here. Munchkin hops up, has that Pulse Bomb. They want to come around from the outside. They've nearly got the point flipped already here. Fissure comes in. They're going to use the Pulse Bomb. That is it. They get Bijou, actually. Doesn't get back in the mech as he tries to self-destruct. Meanwhile, into OT we go. 99% for Gladiators already. And there's the Dragon Blade, but Fleta shoots him out of the air. Fissure, though, picking up the kills that the Gladiators need to win this round. And Soul scrambling. They are in trouble. Overtime going to be ticking away very, very quickly here unless Soul can get some kills going in a hurry. But there goes Munchkin, and the Gladiators will take Nepal 2-0.
Fissure booped everybody off the point at the end. So actually making the big play to ensure that they could take the point 2-0. And Gladiators remaining undefeated on Nepal.
Impressive. It's a combination of, again, great individual play from Fissure. Now the support stepping up, and they've got that focus onto Fleta. And we've seen this before. When Fleta gets focused, Soul does tend to struggle sometimes, and that could be a problem for them as we go into halftime. All tied up here between LA and Seoul. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Omen by HP, the official PC and display of the Overwatch League. Intel, the official computer processor of the Overwatch League. And by T-Mobile, America's best unlimited network.
After dropping Hanamura, the Gladiators battle back to tie up our series at 1 apiece thanks to some strong Tracer play coming in from Asher. It's been a good show so far and another great series on our hands right now. Welcome back, everybody. It's Puckett, we got Bren, we've got Crumbs, and we got a lot to talk about here. Let's start with just the initial impression on this series. A lot of people online saying this is going to be all Seoul. A lot of people in the venue cheering on the Gladiators today. So Crumbs, what have we seen so far?
It was close. That is the one thing that stands out so far. These two teams are actually playing quite neck and neck between each other. The first map was both teams struggling to get the first point. Same thing with the second one. And third, Gladiators came out on top. So the fact that this series is way more competitive than anybody would have thought, except the people that predicted the Gladiators.
Okay, all right, mate. All right, chill out with that for a second, because we still got 2 more maps to be played out before you start tooting your own horn.
I like this, though.
Okay, listen.
You're so much closer to being right than you were with the whole Florida Mayhem series. So.
I bailed Chip way earlier, too.
Savage, man.
All right, so sorry, I was just giving them crap on their predictions. If you missed it earlier in the show, they were terribly wrong. But let's get back on track here. Who is impressing so far? Let's start with the Dynasty.
So across the board, I think we can't really argue with Fletter's performance in general. I think this guy, you can always pick him out as an MVP. He always turns up, it seems, no matter what role he's playing on. And that's also, in a way as well, Soul's downfall in a lot of essences. And we will get into this a little bit later. Because when you have such a powerful, potent player on this one individual role, it becomes very easy to just try and focus him down and try and shut him down in particular. And I mean, this is why I said I'll go into it later, because this is actually what happened on the poll, and the reason why Gladiators actually managed to edge it out. But he's such a dominant player across the board. The guy just turns up on so many different heroes. It's unlike anything we've seen in the Overwatch League so far. Definitely making a case for one of the best players in the league.
And I love the smarts, too. You heard Monty pointing it out. You saw Fleta go back into his spawn when Shore4 was challenging with the Soldier on high ground, switches off of the Genji after the Dragon Blade, picks the Soldier with the Widow, goes right back to his Genji, and continues to crush. So Soul showing us some adaptations. They win game number 1 on Hanamura. But the Gladiators bring it right back. Who's impressing you from the Gladiators?
It's always Fissure from this team now. From now on, he's the MVP 24/7 from the Gladiators. This guy creates so much opportunity for this squad. Every time that he's succeeding, you're always thinking, okay, are the Gladiators going to be able to back it up? And it seems that when they actually follow up on what he's doing and it goes well mechanically, they're able to just steamroll. So this guy is definitely the linchpin of this squad. It's crazy to see how much influence one player can have on a team to just turn it from middle of the pack to, wow, you're contesting the Seoul Dynasty.
And I know there's a lot of people playing Winston on the ladders. This guy's damage that he does with every single jump is ridiculous. If you're a Winston player in gold and platinum, watch his gameplay, look at his jumps, and look how he is doing that burst damage before tickling down his opponent.
But it's not just the jumping. I think it's the bubble usage that he has. It's just very important as an ability. Anytime you use that, it's the signal for the team to go in. You think about it almost like a Rhine shield now that the Rhine meta is away. When the shield gets used and it gets popped, that's when teams like to go in. That's when they go to be aggressive. So you have to be very intelligent about when you use this ability. You don't just jump in at full HP, drop it right away. You have to be very calculated.
As we mentioned at the start of halftime, this has been a very close series, and I was watching the games backstage with Reinforced. When we were watching game 2, we said you have to stop Soul right here. You can't go to a third round in control. Gladiators were able to seal the deal, and we've got the final team fight here, Bren. How did the Gladiators get it done?
Yeah, so hopefully this all works. It's our insights powered by Intel once again, and I've got a great little clip here to show you exactly the game-winning moment and how it didn't come to it. So the first thing I really want you to pay attention to is how clumped up Soul are, to be honest, all in this bottom area just down here. They're really going to be looking for a next push going in. But as it plays out, the game plan for Gladiators coming into this is going to be trying to focus down Fleta. So Fleta has got the tactical visor. Gladiators maneuver onto him. Overwhelming burst damage. They bring him down straight away. And Ryu Jae-hong, he uses the Transcendence. I mean, let's just rewind this quickly so I can show you again. This is a bit of a slow rewind, but we'll get to it eventually.
They pounce fast.
They pounce fast. It's rapid. And I'm going to slow it down for everyone at home just so you can really take a look here. He pops the tactical visor and he's immediately bursted down. Ryu Jae-hong just a second too late with that Transcendence. It plays out wonderfully from that point on. And that was the game-winning moment because immediately Gladiators have just traded a single ultimate pretty much. Shaz's own Transcendence for 2 of their own. And that was honestly, Crumbs, you called it. I didn't really pick up on it at the time, but that was the game-winning moment. As soon as that happened, as soon as Sol just messed up that one maneuver, that was it. Gladiators were taking him out.
Support ults were burned, Fleta's ult down, and now you run through the rest of the team. The one thing that really impressed me when watching from the map overhead is you heard the communication issues from the Gladiator. You brought in a new Korean player. He's trying to learn English to talk with the rest of the squad. Bishu's having to translate. It looked like right there, everyone was on the same page before they even moved.
Right. I mean, if the bar is really low in communication, that just means you have a lot to improve upon, which is what we're trying to see, and we are seeing out of the Gladiators, that they can improve very quickly when it comes to these communicated plays. But I feel like we're actually, you know, these plays are not as complex as it seems. It's just like, all right, Fleta is out. Whenever he jumps out, you yell Fleta, just like yelling monkey, monkey, monkey. You just say soldier, soldier, soldier. So you don't really need crazy translated plays for that.
All right, as we wrap up halftime, Bren, you went ahead and chose the Seoul Dynasty. Crumbs, you went with the Gladiators. Give me one player to watch, and they can't be Fleta or Fissure.
Oh.
On our respective teams, I'm going to give you a bit of a chance here, Crumbs, to think about your answer here. So for Sol,
Guy Bren.
Soul Dynasty, the man I'm going to be watching is Toby. Toby, I want to see this boy turn up. I mean, he's capable on Lucio. He turns up on the variety of roles, even when he's on the flex support. You're shaking your head. What are you saying?
I'm not shaking.
You
I'm agreeing with you.
You're agreeing? Why would you disagree
Okay,
with
you
me?
picked your
Toby's the
Toby.
best.
You're
What
an
do you got,
analyst. You're
Crumb?
smart. You're respected in the Overwatch community. I picked Shaz. That was a joke. I picked Shaz. He's been sniping Fleta left, right. He's an addition, or one more member that can take out
You'll get it eventually.
Fleta.
Don't worry.
I got it.
You got it.
And that is going to do it for our halftime coverage. We're going to drink some water, get a drink, because when we come back, you're going to need it. Game 3 is going to be a barn burner. Hollywood is coming up next when we return.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Sour Patch Kids. Sour, sweet, gone.
We are all tied up 1-1 in this matchup between the Dynasty and the Gladiators. Now, we heard Puckett say it earlier. A lot of people on the internet and online, they were saying that this was going to be all Dynasty. But, as we can see, the Gladiators clearly mean business. And, you know, the more I watch this team, the more I really wish that I could just do my placement matches with Fisher. Fisher, please. Please, Fisher. Anyways, let's go ahead and get to the second half and send it on over to our casters, Monty and Doa.
That's right, we are back. I would also like to do my placement matches with Fisher. Please add me on BNet, man. I thought you were gonna say, I wasn't gonna say anything. Don't worry. I was just making a joke all along. I don't know. This intro is totally failed.
Give
Believe did a
everybody your
much better
email
job.
if you want to add some friends for your placement matches there, Tella.
ZenyattaFan1983 at geocities.com. Here we go. Surefour coming in for hydration. as we go towards Hollywood, which is kind of interesting, actually, isn't it, Monica? Because you would think maybe they would want to have hydration in here, because when you put Sherfor in, doesn't that kind of take away some of the options for like the Genji, say, things like that?
I mean, Sherfor has played Genji, but it's not on the same level as Hydrations. It does give them, and they would still have the Widowmaker option with Asher as well. So I'm curious to see what they do, because we actually haven't seen the Gladiators play on Hollywood yet. So not sure precisely what their strategy is going to be.
Interesting. So perhaps something a bit new coming out from the Gladiators? Seoul, on the other hand, of course, feeling perhaps a bit vulnerable after that match on Nepal, having a little bit of trouble keeping Fleta in the game. And like we said before the break, I mean, if you target Fleta, that's a big chunk taken out of Seoul's ability to win. So going forward here, you got to protect that guy a bit better. But, you know, by the same token, I would say if there's any map that the Gladiators are going to win, it's going to be that control map where you can be scrappy, you can fight it out, you can have Fissure do what Fissure does best.
Well, you can see what the game plan is, too, from the Gladiators, is that they know that Seoul has been running an extensive amount of Soldier Tracer and wanting to poke before they commit to a fight. And so Gladiators is just going to play dive and try and kill Fleta every time and control him. So they clearly are aware of what Seoul is going to do, and Seoul needs to figure out some other way of dealing with this, and that may be Fleta on the Junkrat here.
Yeah, this is looking interesting because you have Miro on the Orisa, now Toby actually on the Moira. You and I were talking about this during the break. We're kind of missing the Toby Torbjorn. This is one of those points you can run that if you want to, the Torbjorn, if you will.
The Torbjorn, but yeah, as much as I would love to see that, not sure they're going to take that kind of risk right now.
No, on the Moira instead. So, a lot of AoE healing. Those orbs can actually do quite a bit, kind of bouncing him around this narrow point here. But, you know, Bishu on that Diva, if he eats those with the defensive matrix, that's a lot of utility taken away from the Moira. So we'll see how they react here.
Yeah, and Seoul is doing something different now. They ran a Soldier Junkrat defense previously on Hollywood, so they are mixing it up, trying to bring in the McCree now to deal with some of the dive. Sherfor is going to be playing Sombra, so we've seen the Gladiators play a lot of attack Sombra, both in Stage 1 and Stage 2, more than other rosters, and they're going to start by hacking the Mega Health Pack, and then crossing the gap once again with that translocator.
That's going to give the team... Oh, Fleta finds Sherfor there as he tries to come in for what I would imagine to be the other health pack on the other side there. Yeah, that's a problem for the Gladiators.
He was running in towards the mini health pack room in order to try and hack on both flanks, and now Gladiators are attempting to escape across this open ground back towards their allies. Sherfor has rejoined the team, but it may be a trick to get Shaz back in there on the Zenyatta.
True enough. See if they can do it. See if they can kind of get him through the choke. That's going to be tough. Coming in now. Fissure gets bounced into the air a little bit here. Takes some damage on the way out. Yeah, I love Soul's adaptation to be kind of more anti-dive with Munchkin on the McCree especially. Sherfor has the EMP now. Gets pulled in. Has to translocate back. Ooh, close call there.
Sherfor has the EMP, so is he going to drop in from the top? You can see Seoul is broken up. They're not in the sight line on the point right now, so Sherfor may not have the easiest job when it comes to getting this EMP.
He just runs in the room. He's going to try it right there. EMP on the Miro. Big Goose finishes him off. That's one tank down already. Fled in a little bit of trouble. Make that a lot as Bishu hunts him down as well. And Seoul Dynasty way shorthanded as they try to defend point A, but without Miro there, there's only so much you can really do. Fleta back now. He's going to try to scramble back to the point here. Bishu not even getting demected. Yeah, I think that's going to be Seoul getting a point A real fast.
Excellent target selection from the Gladiators. They come in, and even though it's not a big EMP, they get the main tank out of the way. Then they realize Fleta is on the opposite high ground, so they dive onto that high ground, take him out, and then they've got their 4-on-6. So very well done by the Gladiators, not overcommitting and punishing a positional error from Seoul.
So some swaps from Seoul now. Toby going over to the Mercy, Munchkin going to the Tracer as they try to get set up on point B, but they've already had to give up some of that high ground. And a long-range Drip Tire coming in from Fleta. See if maybe he wants to swap after this one, or if he's just kind of going for it. No kills out of that one. Just the D-back on the Bishu. That is something. Oh, they're dedicating this. They're going in. Jaehong taken out, though, by Asher. Coming up big with 2 support kills for the Gladiators.
But the problem here for Seoul, though, is they're not playing very aggressively.
No.
So the Gladiators are getting an insane amount of time to build up these EMPs basically for free.
Well, the Gladiators are just kind of running all over Seoul right now. I mean, no semblance of defense at all on point B so far.
Well, when they're not getting in onto the Gladiators, it just means that there's a lot of healing coming through from the supports. Those health packs are picked up as they're hacked over and over again. Surefour is able to get the EMP, and Gladiators basically unopposed all the way through point B. Flooded now on the McCree, so they are switching it up. Shen, another important pick.
Yeah, that is a big one as Gladiators try to finish this point right here. Bishu comes in, pass it back off for the moment. They're going to try to wait out the Transcendence, rather, from Zenyatta. Self-destruct starting to come in now. Flooded taken out. Zunba does get one onto Shaz. That is a big one. Bishu keeps safe until he can remech again. Payload still contested. Soul all over it, but they do lose Toby in the process.
So I have 4 people on the payload. Gladiators must back out. Fisher with the Primal Rage will leap back to safety with the rest of his team. Surefour still on this Sombra and nearly with another EMP. So Soul will hold for now. Fleta, Widowmaker on the defense.
Man, he has to really go to work on that Widowmaker too, because if the Sombra gets up close to you, there's only so much you can do. It does get a bit risky. So we'll see.
Surefour doesn't find the pack he likes, instead pops the translocator at his feet. Once again, the Zenyatta.
Jaehong gets EMP, gets around the corner just in time. Ooh, I don't know if he can live though. Gets healing though from the Mercy. Fled in a little bit of trouble, takes some damage as he comes out. Fissure chases, but Fissure the one who will fall. Shaz as well, and this attack falling apart for the Gladiators. Soul, man, that was finally the fight that they were looking for. Great stagger onto Bishu too, but Soul's been trying to play this defensive reactive style, and they finally got the fight they were looking for.
Just a little tickled to death at the end there.
Yeah.
Bishu with nearly 0 HP, and yes, I agree with you, Doa. They had been waiting for that one. They played around the sight lines very nicely from the EMP, and when you can't even kill that 50 HP Zenyatta after his shields are down, but with Toby flying in the air, able to get the necessary healing and make sure that he's going to survive. So Fleta now taking these long angles, Surefour on the Widowmaker himself. So that was the end of the stint with Sombra.
Yeah, Widowmaker duels now. Asher on the other side has that one. Or rather, Surefour does on the other side have that one. Gladiators biding their time though. Miro trying to hold that high ground. Allows himself to be pushed off, jumps back on again. Bishu back on the low ground. Fleta finds the duel. Win onto Surefour, and there goes Big Goose. Zumba getting him. And so Gladiators, a couple people down already, and they'll actually use the Transcendence from Shaz. Wow, pressure onto the Zenyatta, and that's a big ult to take away from the Gladiators.
It absolutely is. Big Goose onto the Lucio now, so swaps coming through the side of the Gladiators, and that's a good change. Surefour on the Genji. But notice what Soul did. The Infrasight actually bought Soul about 10 seconds because Gladiators were afraid to move anywhere during that period, and then after that time, ended up jumping into the line of sight and dying anyway.
Surefour very, very low here. Can they finish him off? We'll see. Less than 30 seconds remaining for Gladiators. This is the push that they need to have some success with. There's a big stick onto Bishu. I think he's going to get the mech. No, he uses that self-destruct right at the last moment to get that mech back again, and he will. Surefour does kill Miro, though. Good start for Gladiators here, as they will dive onto this payload. Self-destruct doesn't get anything, and now we're into overtime. Soul trying to set this one up with the Transcendence. Jaehong coming in, camping the payload, and they will tear apart the Gladiators. Fleta fighting that duel against Surefour, gonna run for the health pack, he'll get it, but meanwhile the rest of Gladiators falling all around Surefour. They've only got Big Goose and Asher on the point, minus Big Goose, minus Asher. There goes overtime, and Soul will actually hold the Gladiators to a single point on Hollywood.
And that was a great adjustment against the Sombra. They struggled against it at first. Gladiators confident in their ability to play around the EMP. But eventually Soul was too split up, the EMP not effective. And Soul gained a large ultimate advantage towards the end of that fight, and it was too much for the Gladiators to overcome. Still a shot though to win here on Hollywood.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, a point A hold would do it, obviously, for the Gladiators. And, you know, a pretty epic defense on point B, if they can hold A, would do it as well. But at this point, if you're the LA Gladiators and you lose point A on Hollywood and you've only pushed the payload as far as they have, you definitely are going to be sweating a little bit.
You will be, and I'm curious what tactic Seoul is going to take here on the attack, because we saw them on Hollywood before. They do like to run three tanks with Fleta on the Roadhog.
You know what I'm wondering? Why have those big blue safety mats if there's no fall damage in Overwatch?
That is a great question.
Are those even needed in the future that Overwatch is set? I'm not so sure.
I don't think they're needed at all. Yeah, I agree with you, Duh.
Just kind of relax on those later because they're nice and soft, comfy, but no fall damage, so it's okay.
Yeah.
Fall anywhere you want on this set. It's totally fine.
That's an excellent observation. Maybe only the heroes in this world are immune to fall damage.
Maybe.
Gravity's given them a break, but everybody else.
We know there's either 0 fall damage or instant death. That's one of the two results from falling in this game. Pretty much. Well, the Gladiators going for an interesting defense here. Big Goose actually going to be playing the Moira himself again.
I don't think we should be surprised by Surefour playing this Sombra. It took Seoul a while to deal with that in the last point. It will be Munchkin playing the Roadhog this time, and Fleta on the Doomfist.
Here we go.
So here we go, something very different.
That's right, Miro on that Reinhardt. Gonna try to give Fleta some space here to get those rocket punches ready.
All right, so they're just gonna rush the point. They don't want to give them time to build the EMP.
Fisher bonked away there. He's gonna come in. Whoa, Fleta, a little bit of healing for him. He's gonna take him out. Whoa, that was quite the punch coming in from Fleta, and Seoul already with a big edge on point A here. I do not think anyone was expecting this. Munchkin on the Roadhog as well.
And what this is, Doa, is just a pick composition. You want to come in, get the Doomfist hit punch, or you want to get that hook in. They're going to try and defend here, but Munchkin is fishing Chaz.
No. Fisher is like, I'm going to go in, and Munchkin's like, all right, man, I know Chaz is probably back there. Have a good time on the point. Fleta with another kill onto Asher, manages to rocket fist a Tracer, which is something you don't see very often. Has that Meteor Strike available, and that looks like after they finish off the tanks one more time, a pretty quick point A take for Seoul Dynasty. 5.5 minutes now to push the payload, 2/3 about the way through point B. That feels good.
So when the Gladiators are playing this strategy with the Sombra and the Tracer as their DPS, what Seoul realized is that if they rush the point, there's not going to be time to get the EMP, and there's not going to be enough damage to actually kill them, especially with the Moira there healing them up. So very hard for the Gladiators to combat that when they have the speed boost just to get onto the point from the Lucio, and then the pick potential from the hook and the rocket punch. So great strategy from Seoul.
Well, the EMP comes in. Fisher immediately dives afterward. The sound barrier gets going, though. Somehow they didn't catch Toby with that one, and they're going to go right back in with the Coalescence. Here comes a Meteor Strike from on high. Descends Fleta. Transcendence is there, though. Meanwhile, Munchkin does fall. Fleta finally trying to find those kills on Big Goose. He gets him midair. It's an uppercut. And no one's been able to touch this Doomfist just yet.
Okay,
crazy.
The Sombra has to go at this point. You can't keep running the Sombra, but Fleta dies to a pulse bomb.
Oh, Asher decides to go for that one. Jaehong finishing him off, though. And now Munchkin onto the Widowmaker, actually. Something that we usually see from Fleta, but this time around he's been doing so well. The Doomfist, they're going to give it to the other DPS.
I love this swap at the end, though, because they can't contest the Widow when they have to play the card.
True enough, and they do, because that card is almost there for Seoul already. Fissure jumping in, Miro just swinging away, and the kills coming in quick and easy for the DPS. Oh, Fissure knocked just as he tried to Primal Rage. They can't get the payload there quite yet, and Fleta, or Shas rather, coming back with a couple pretty crucial kills. Can the Gladiators maybe hold it at this last second? Less than a meter remaining here. Surefour falling. They gotta push Bishu back again. He's demeched, he's down, and that's a win for Seoul Dynasty on Hollywood.
That was such a great hero swap from Seoul. So first off, that attack was a direct answer to what we saw from having the Sombra Tracer. So they come in, figure that that's going to be the strategy on defense. It's easier to play Sombra on defense because you can pre-hack a lot of those health packs. Come out with that strategy, and then they come out with the late Widowmaker swap at the end. And the reason behind that is that even though Munchkin doesn't typically play Widowmaker for this roster, you can't actually contest him when you need to get on the card to prevent it from moving forward.
Well, here we go. Gladiators trying to tie it up in map number 4, and we come back. See you then.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile, America's best unlimited network. Omen by HP, the official PC and display of the Overwatch League. And by Intel, the official computer processor of the Overwatch League.
And Soul crushing it so far.
We're going to see one last attack here from Soul.
Real momentum start to get built up here for the Los Angeles Gladiators. Mad kills, fam. Mad kills. Bishu.
Fleta! Oh, there it is.
He's got the hot hands.
Whoa! What? Well, that was a pretty crazy last map on Hollywood. Soul coming in with some Doomfist action at the end to win that one. And now we look ahead to map number 4. It's going to be Gibraltar. Gladiators kind of caught by surprise at the end of that one. Do you think they've got what it takes to tie this one up?
I think if Soul keeps on coming with some of these unexpected strategies and counters to what we've seen from the Gladiators, that they can close it out here. But when they play the Soldier Tracer, it looks like Los Angeles has had their number. So
yeah,
if we talk about previous instances on Gibraltar that we've seen from the Dynasty, it has been Soldier Tracer on defense, and they've been having trouble keeping Fleta alive. So
one wonders, as we go into the final map, a win here for the LA Gladiators would mean a tiebreaker control map on Ilios to finish things up. See who takes this one. A win here on Gibraltar from Soul would mean the end of the match and Soul taking a 3-1 victory. But like you said, Monte Cristo, I think Soul's going to need to come at something or come with something a little bit different like we saw on Hollywood. The dive has kind of been figured out, at least the soldier dive anyway.
Yeah, and it is a bit of a different play style here for Gibraltar, especially from the Gladiators. They haven't been preferring dive. In their last match, they did play a lot of Widowmaker and Tracer on attack with Surefour on the Widow. So the dive may be less of a threat here, which means that perhaps Fleta can stay alive for a little bit longer. What was interesting, though, is the Gladiators play Sombra on defense. So another Sombra map for the Gladiators, where most teams would not opt into playing that hero.
Yeah. All right, I was going to say, as the graphic on the screen talks about, Widowmaker, certainly a big hero on this map. Perhaps Fleta will be unleashed soon on that one. For now, sitting on the soldier here as Seoul sets up their defense for Gibraltar.
And oftentimes more seen on attack rather than defense in this map. So expect a lot of teams to be running on it on attack. Not so many on the defensive side of things. It will be Ana and the Zenyatta when it comes to supports for the Seoul Dynasty. And Asher, is he going to stay on the Roadhog? Will be the big question. No.
Nope.
We'll be back to Widow Tracer. So what we've seen from the Gladiators previously will be what they're going to start out with here on Gibraltar.
Bishu just taking a glimpse in that hallway, see what he wanted to see. Make sure that he lets the team know Seoul is there as they get things going here.
Yeah, and I think that's smart, especially with Seoul trying some more unexpected strategies.
Yeah, you want to know.
On that last match, you don't want to get cheesed and rushed right out of the gate.
For sure.
So it will be a pretty standard defense here from the Dynasty, trying to play the back high ground right before the end of A, and Payload will be moving up that ramp basically for free for the contest at Surefour. Speaking of damage boosting Widowmakers, there's a nice shot.
That's exactly what they needed. The Gladiators getting one early on. Now Surefour covering that server room door, keeping Seoul penned up. Ooh, dangerous one for Jaehong. On that, Ana backs away after a little bit of pressure from Miro coming in. Meanwhile, Asher fighting it out with the members at the door, and that Payload getting very close to the end of point A already here.
It's going to be a nano boost already here for Miro.
Oh, that was fast, man. Miro gets a nano boost. Fleta finds one onto Fissure here, and Seoul finding the defense here at the end of point A. But now Asher coming in. We saw him trying to push that Payload on his own. Just keeping it where it is, trying to not let it roll backwards at all.
Yeah, Fissure with a resurrect, though. Asher still playing far back. Fissure going to die alone on the card, so they revived him only for him to go back in. That's actually sort of a waste of time from the Los Angeles Gladiators side, because in essence, they just delayed their push even longer by rezzing him and then having him die again.
Yeah.
So Seoul, though, the reason why they got that nano boost so quickly was that they were rotating members out of the server room onto the cart.
Oh, Munchkin dueling it out with Tracer. Tracer going for the quick kill there, didn't get it.
And then healing them up. So pretty big advantage right now for the Dynasty. You can see Jaehong already with that Transcendence.
Asher's going to try to take that one away. Maybe with a pulse bomb here. Can he get the stick? He does. Forces out that Transcendence. Jaehong keeping himself alive on that Zenyatta. Asher now hunting down Fleta. He's got the shot from behind. Fleta in a lot of trouble, goes down. Jaehong right there for the revenge, though. And now Bishu chasing Miro back on that primal range. Fissure low. Zunba takes him out. And so Seoul slowly getting the advantage here in this fight, and that's going to cause the Gladiators to pull back. They've got ultimates to work with. They didn't need to really try to keep pushing it there.
No, they didn't, but difficult for Surefour to do his job in that circumstance, because even though Asher did a wonderful work with forcing out the Transcendence by using the Pulse Bomb, it didn't end up meaning anything, because Seoul turned it into an aggressive play immediately.
Right.
And that's when Miro turned around, used his jump, and then Primal Rage and double jump to remove Surefour. That's a nice shot where Toby is right now. So it's been a bit interesting for Surefour to get into position, and Seoul is punishing him when he tries to get a crossfire.
Right. Fleta being very aggressive with his position now in 76. They've got everyone battled up in server. Nice Helix Rocket as Miro goes in with that nano boost. Transcendence comes in. Zenyatta ulting his way back onto the point, and Fleta from behind. Wow, on the low ground with the tac visor. Bold move, and he gets punished for it. Meanwhile, Zunba trying to fight it out on the high ground, drops that self-destruct right onto Fissure. Oh, the disrespect. It hurts bad. Bishu trying to keep things alive on the payload, but he's in trouble now. Goes down, gets D-Mech, goes ahead and uses it. Oh, no mech for you, man. Munchkin waits out the self-destruct and gets back in there. And now just 20 seconds left. for Gladiators, and they are in a massive amount of trouble. Sure for nothing with that tac visor and a pulse bomb from Munchkin just to keep everybody bottled up in that hallway. They need to scramble if they want to try to take point A.
You can see Toby nearly with another nano boost right now.
Fissure down again already, and it's only Bishu on the point, all on his lonesome here as his team falls around him. Another nano boost, like you said, onto Miro, and that should about do it. Asher out of the way, and Shaz, he's like, I got this, guys. I can't even get there, sorry. And it's gonna be round one complete with Soul full holding here on Gibraltar.
They played with space so beautifully, Doa, and that sleep dart from Toby, never fall asleep under a nuclear explosion.
No kidding.
A fun pickoff there.
It hurts my heart a little bit to see Ana in the game on Seoul Dynasty, and it's not Jaehong playing that hero, but you know, when it comes down to it, you think he's probably the one you want to keep on Zenyatta in this meta. Toby performing really well on the Ana, so you can't really argue with that. You know, before Overwatch League began, he told me when I sat down with him that he wanted to show people he could play more heroes than just Mercy, you know, just the Lucio. And we didn't get to see a lot of that in stage one, but now that we're in stage two, seeing things like that Ana performance really gives you a lot of hope in this guy's a deeper hero pool.
Well, you can also always go back to Torbjorn, Doa.
Exactly. Yeah.
He is the designated Torbjorn player on this roster.
And with as good as he is on the Lucio, you know, do you even need that deep hero pool? I think it's fine in this meta the way it is now.
I think he can play everything he has to in order for this team to win.
Well, speaking of winning, Seoul's certainly given themselves, in theory, a pretty easy path to that, as they only need to push the payload as far as you see on your screen right there, just to that box on the ground, and that's going to be a tough one for the Gladiators to defend.
So no Sombra on defense for sure for this time around. Wants to play with the Roadhog as an alternative, so 3 tanks.
Jeez. Oh, don't do that to me, Angela. Oh, man. See you in your nightmares. I'm just kidding. She's a beautiful woman.
I mean, seeing her all the time in the last stage basically was my nightmare.
That's true, yeah. I thought it was over. Oh, well, here we go. Seoul Dynasty on the attack. LA Gladiators with a desperate defense. They need to stop Seoul from taking point A, or getting close to it, rather. The payload is moving.
So Fleta will be back on the Widowmaker on attack. Nothing new from Seoul. They're going to be trying same strategy that we saw the Gladiators use here to start out Gibraltar, and that means that you'll see a lot of members of Los Angeles in the server room. Shervor drops out for a little hook. Can't do too much damage, otherwise you risk giving a lot of support ult charge over. And you can see how teams rotate tanks out of that door to stall the payload as it comes around the corner.
That's the plan. Fleta looking for some shots that could win them the match right here. Shot onto Ana. One of the supports would be big. Taking some chunks out of Shervor. Ooh, dangerous moment as Duishu comes up to try to take him down.
And be careful, they're giving that nano boost to Big Goose very quickly.
Yes, they are. All right, that is a lot of damage getting healed up on the stakes. Oh, but Bishu demacked by Munchkin, and Fleta taking advantage of just that nano boost now into Fissure as the Gladiators.
No one's on it.
What? I really thought there was going to be a fight there, but apparently Seoul Dynasty is just going to win this series 3-1.
Doa, the problem there was that because Bishu was dead and Fissure was killed en route to the cart, they didn't have enough movement abilities to get onto the payload quickly.
Wow. Well, that ended a bit more abruptly than I think we expected, and a bit more than the Gladiators would have preferred, certainly. But Seoul Dynasty coming out with the 3-1 victory, losing that control map, but coming back strong on Hollywood and now Gibraltar, and these guys continue to roll through stage 2.
Now that said, though, the Gladiators did play a couple of these maps very close, continue to be unbeaten on Nepal.
Yeah.
So
very true.
They definitely have seen a lot of improvement with the addition of Fissure, with the change in the meta.
Yeah, you look at those early things they struggled with in week 1, right? Keeping Shaz alive, keeping things a bit more coordinated, and they've really kind of begun to make that all sort of come in line. So, despite the loss here, Gladiators looking strong going forward, but Seoul Dynasty, the winners of this one, gonna take a quick break, and after we come back, guys, the desk breaks that one down. Don't go anywhere. This is the Overwatch League.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Intel, the official computer processor of the Overwatch League. T-Mobile, America's best unlimited network. And by Omen by HP, the official PC and display of the Overwatch League.
Seoul Dynasty walking away with this one, 3-1 to close it all out. Welcome back, everybody. I'm your host, Chris Puckett. We've got the whole desk back. It's Brent, it's Crumbs, and we got a lot to talk about again here in the second half. At the half, it was 1-1. We just saw the Gladiators win control, and they did it convincingly. They did it in just 2 rounds. So coming into Hollywood, we had some high hopes for this Gladiator squad. Talk me through what we saw in that third game.
It looked good. They had the Sombra, they had the strategy down, but then once again, it seems like every team's struggling. When Seoul's Widowmakers come out, it is all downhill. So this is what we get to see out of Surefour, the Sombra, right? You get a cool little strategy here for the first point. You charge the EMP, you basically win the fights, but right towards the very end, he got so greedy with one of his ultimates. He got spotted, and then he figured, I gotta go for it anyways. And then once that happened, the Widows come out, and then this push gets stopped.
I like that we're seeing more Sombra, though. That's kind of been the theme of our death so far today, teaching you when you can use her, what maps you're going to see her on, and our teams seem to be running her more as the stage goes on. Somebody's getting cheered for. We got a lot of fans here in the venue, a lot of new teams taking the stage. I think that was some Valiant noise. Let's talk a little bit about what is happening on the floor right now. We have Zoe with an interview with our winners.
We do indeed. Thank you so much, Pocket. I now have Miro joining me. And yeah, that was a dominant performance you guys just pulled out, and you're still undefeated. What was your general game plan going into this match against the Gladiators?
저희가 원래 저 글래디에이터 지금 새로 들어온 피셔 선수가 많이 잘하잖아요. 그래서 피셔 선수를 좀 봉쇄하는 식으로 플레이를 좀 짜왔습니다.
So Fisher, who is the new player in Gladiator, he's really good. So we actually focused on Fisher a lot, and that's how we manage our strategy.
All right. Well, it definitely worked out for you guys. Now let's take a look ahead. Next week, you guys are going to play against the Philadelphia Fusion. You guys, as well as the Fusion, are currently undefeated. How do you rank that team? What do you think of the Philadelphia Fusion?
다음 주에 저희가 필라델피아 퓨전이랑 경기가 있는데 지금까지 저희 팀과 필라델피아 팀 두 팀이 다 무패잖아요. 그래서 그 팀의 랭크를 어느 정도 생각하시는지 그리고 그 팀에 대해서 전반적으로 어떤 생각을 가지고 계시나요?
필라델피아가 지금 무패를 하고 있는데 지금 EQ5 맞나? EQ5 선수가 들어오고 난부터 상당히 세진 것 같더라고요. 지금 아마 제일 세다고 해도 과언이 아닐 정도로 많이 세다고 생각합니다.
So both of our teams are undefeated yet, and I think after EQO came to Philadelphia Fusion, they became much stronger, and I can say that they might be the strongest team by far.
All right. Well, there's a compliment from the guy himself. Miro, thank you so much for joining me here. We're now going to go back to Pocket and the boys to break down the game.
Thank you so much, Zoe. Glad we could fit that one in. Big shout out to Miro and the Seoul Dynasty. Miro taking some time to chat with us and some high praise for the Philadelphia Fusion. That is a matchup I know a lot of people are looking forward to as Stage 2 goes on. Let's talk about this match, though. As we highlighted, the Sombra was coming in for the Gladiators, but they lost Hollywood. You mentioned a little bit greedy EMP towards the end of this one, but who was causing issues for the Gladiators from the Seoul Dynasty side of things?
So in general, it's got to be, again, the Fleta show, isn't it? Like, we got to just mention this guy every single time he comes up. And Seoul are kind of like a Hydra, right? I'm going to use a weird analogy here, but just bear with me, right? You cut off the head of Fleta, you try and punish the man, you try and shut him down, and suddenly you're met with Rhea Jaehong, Munchkin, right down the back ends of your woods, and they're just causing all sorts of havoc, you know, deforestation all over the place. So, like, it's a really, like, hard team to prep for, because you can have a game plan in mind, you can try and focus down, you know, certain players or whatever, you can try and bring down Fleta, this hard carry player, but at the end of the day, it's not going to matter, because Seoul Dynasty have such a strong roster that they're just going to overwhelm you that way.
Sure, the roster is sick, but what impressed me the most was not just their in-game adaptation that you highlighted. Okay, this team knows how to adapt on the fly. We saw it, Monty highlighted with the Doomfist. No longer can you afford to build time with the EMP, but the way that they hold their ultimates and understand when they need to take a fight that they have to win is such an impressive ability. So they recognize, okay, 2 minutes from now is when we need to make the final push for this point or for this, whatever it is that we're doing. And so they hold on to their ultimates. They have as many as possible and just execute. They almost always get the fight when they do it that way. And it's really impressive to see a team that just knows when they're going to win and gets it.
It's amazing when you watch the Seoul Dynasty. Yes, they can get the micro game down. They're not going to miss their shots, but it's that macro knowledge, knowing when to use those ultimates as a team that separates them from some of the other teams in the league so far. That is going to do it for our second match today, but before we go, we have to crown the player of the match, sponsored by Omen by HP. And we don't have any more Fleta highlights coming. That's it for the day. Instead, you got to watch their Tracer. Munchkin was going off. The double pulse bomb on the supports to kick things off back at Hanamura, and he just did not stop being a thorn in the Gladiator side. You saw the Widow, you saw the Tracer. Brent, what was your favorite part of this man's game?
I think the clip we saw right at the beginning, the double kill, the pulse bomb, the flick across the map. I mean, this guy, he's crazy. This is the kind of performance, and this is what I'm talking about. There's so much talent on this roster, despite the fact that you might focus down Fleta. Munchkin's there to pick up the pieces, and he'll beat you to death with it.
Around 20% of his kills on those supports, also really helping shred through the Gladiators' tanks. You know, Fissure didn't enjoy that throughout the day. That's our Omen player of the match, sponsored by Omen by HP, and that will do it for our first two matches today. But we still have one more to go. Let's hear some noise, because our next match here in the Blizzard Arena is the Dallas Fuel taking on the Valiant when we return.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Toyota. Let's go places.